And today we're going to be doing Unit 1, Notes 10. So we're going to talk about writing equations. So we're going to go through how to write different equations to just kind of get some more practice with those word problems. So that's what today is, kind of a day of word problems. So let's take a look at number 1. After 22 games in 2005, J.D. Drew of the Los Angeles Dodgers had 10 runs battled in. After 36 games, he had 15 runs battled in. Write a linear equation to represent this situation. So what I want to do first is set up a coordinate point. And what it's going to be is basically games as the x-coordinate and runs scored as the y-coordinate. So let's go ahead and let's set up his first one. So after 22 games, he had 10 runs. After 36 games, he had 15 runs. So we want to write a linear equation to represent this situation. So I'm going to write a linear equation in point-slope form. So to do that, I first need to calculate out the slope. So remember that the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Well, 15 minus 10 is going to give me 5. 36 minus 22 is going to give me 14. So that's my slope, and now I'm ready to plug it into point-slope form, and that's where I use the puzzle to set it up. So in here is going to go the slope, which is 5 over 14. Then in here, opposite of the x-coordinate. So the opposite of the x-coordinate, it depends on which point we can pick. It doesn't matter which point you use. It means the same thing. So let's just use the second point. Well, the opposite of 36 is going to be a minus 36. Opposite of 15 is going to be 15. So this right here is your final answer for number 1. All right, let's take a look at number 2. As a part-time job, Ethan makes deliveries for a caterer. In addition to his weekly salary, he is also paid $16 per delivery. Okay, last week he made 5 deliveries and his total salary was $215. Write a linear equation to find Ethan's weekly total salary. So I know, so basically let's let B, or the y-intercept, represent his weekly salary. Okay, so then 1 week he made a total of $215. So then we know that he gets $16 for every delivery that he makes. Well, that week he made 5 deliveries. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that 16 and multiply it by 5. Then, in addition to the money he makes for deliveries, is his weekly salary, or B. So now we're going to solve this equation for B. So I have 215 is equal to 16 times 5, which is 80, plus B. So now to solve for B, I need to subtract 80 from both sides. 215 is going to be 135. So B is equal to 135. So I get that y is equal to 16x, y being his total salary, x being the number of deliveries that he makes, plus his weekly salary of $135. So this right here is that linear equation. Word problems can be tough, so please make sure you're asking me for help as we go through these, okay? So let's take a look at number 3. Lilia and her friends rented a canoe for 3 hours and paid a total of $45. The rate was $10 per hour plus the cost of the daily rate. So we want to figure out what the daily rate was. So for their day, they paid $45 for the day. Okay? That's going to be equal to 3 hours times $10 per hour. So we're taking and we're multiplying these by how much we pay. Because if you think about it, we went 3 hours. For each hour we go, we're going to pay $10. So that's where the 3 times 10 comes from. Then we need to add an x, and that x is going to represent the daily rate. Okay, so now we need to solve this for x. So I get 30 plus x is equal to 45. So in order to solve for x, I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides, and I end up getting that x is equal to 15. And we're talking about money, so I'm going to label it $15. So the daily rate was $15. Let's take a look at number 4. Yvonne and her friends held a bake sale to benefit a shelter for homeless people. The friends sold 22 cakes on the first day and 15 cakes on the second day. They collected $88 on the first day and $60 on the second day. So numbers are always a good thing to keep track of in a math problem. Then it tells us that X represents the number of cakes that they sold and Y represents the total money made. So again, we're going to set up points. So the points are going to be X is cakes, Y is price. So now it wants to find the slope of a line that could go through those points given. Well, let's set up our points. When we sold 22 cakes, we made $88. When we sold 15 cakes, we made $60. So now we're going to go ahead and calculate out the slope. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. So I have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 88 minus 60. Oops, I did it the wrong way. I did y1. We're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. There we go. So 60 minus 88 is going to be a negative 28. Negative 7, or 15 minus 22 is negative 7. Divide those two out and you end up getting a positive 4. So the slope between those two is a positive 4. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the next word problem. Your grandmother made 24 ounces of jelly. You have two types of jars. One holds 10 ounces, the other holds 12 ounces. Write an equation that represents the different number of 10-ounce and 12-ounce jars. So I'm going to let X equal the 10-ounce jars, and I'm going to let Y equal the 12-ounce jars. And in all honesty, it doesn't matter which one you pick, but it is important that you tell me and label your variables. So we know we want to add up to a total of 240 ounces. So for every X 10-ounce jar that I put in, it's going to hold, well, 10 ounces. For every Y 12-ounce jar that I use, it's going to hold 12 ounces. So this right here is actually our final answer. It is a-okay to leave it in standard form for right now. In fact, a lot of word problems end up getting set up in standard form, and that's totally fine. Let's take a look at number 6. You are buying $30 worth of birdseed that consists of two types of seed. Thistle seed, I'm going to let X represent thistle seed. So X is going to be thistle. Attracts finches and costs $2 per pound. Dark oil sunflower seed attracts many kinds of sunbirds and costs $1.50. And I'm going to let Y equal that sunflower seed. So we only have $30 to spend. So let's assume we're going to spend exactly $30, okay? So for every X pound of thistle seed that I buy, it's going to cost me $1.50. So that $1.50 needs to be multiplied by the X. For every Y pound of sunflower seed, it's going to, thistle's $2. This is a struggle for Miss Humbert. Thistle seed attracts finches and costs $2 per pound. So for every X pound of thistle, it's going to be $2. For every Y pound, it's going to be $1.50. And that right here is your setup for number 6. Let's take a look at number 7. Candy corn costs $2 per pound, M&M costs $3 per pound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let X represent candy corn. And I'm going to let Y represent M&Ms. With $30 to spend, what are the different amounts of the two candies that you can buy? Okay, so we have $30 to spend. For every X pound of candy corn, it's going to be $2. For every Y pound of M&Ms, it's going to be $3. And this right here, you should have an equal sign there, is your setup for number 7. Last but not least, let's take a look at number 8. Suppose you had $6 to buy bananas and apples. I'm going to let X represent bananas. Again, it's always important to label it. If I could spell today, that would be a fantastic thing. And I'm going to let Y represent apples. So we have $6 total to spend, and I'm just going to write it as 6. You could write 6.00 if you wanted to. So for every X pound of banana that I buy, it's going to be 49 cents. For every Y pound of apples, it's going to be 34 cents. And that's your setup. We're going to be doing more with this on the next note sheet, but for right now, this is all you need to do. So go ahead and show me your completed note sheet once you are done. Thanks for listening.